Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are doing fantastic. Let's take a look and see what's going on with Bitcoin. So, basically, for the day, we had a nice drop down. We kind of had a very expansive candle. We had a high of about 64,049. We have a low of about 62,276. So, we definitely had like a almost a $2,000 range here. Now, the real interesting question is whether or not this is going to close bullish or bearish, right? We have an hour and 47 minutes left. It could potentially, close as a doji. Ideally, I want to see this close as potentially a bullish candle. Um, because if it does close as a doji, whether it be, bearish, you basically are going to be expecting some sort of swing high potentially to form, which is not going to be great. So ideally, I want to see us get back into the 63,600 to 63,940 range. Taking a look at the weekly, you are now below the 200 MA. So, definitely it doesn't mean anything because we do have another 6 days, 2 hours for it to close. But you do want to flip this, right? Um, yeah, let's see, 5 day. So the 5 day is going to be ending in about an hour and 46 minutes as well. And, ideally, we would want this to be some sort of a bull flag, right? You would want this to be something like this to flip back to the upside. Usually you don't get 4 or 5 day, four candles in a row of bearishness. So if we do, I would hope that this is going to be, basically a bullish flag here that we start to take off within the upcoming days. Um, your 4 day looking okay. This is just reminding me of how much of a consolidation, accumulationist range we're in right here. This almost looks like an inverted head and shoulders. I mean, you can kind of draw this out. Like this could be forming an inverted to really take us up, right? Um, but on the 3 day, you don't want to lose a 21. You want to stay above it, so that's fine. Um, and honestly, guys, with this, like you could potentially, once this candle closes, as long as it closes fairly bullish, you could possibly even take a long here. I mean, not financial advice, but you could even take a long where you put the stop below the wicks right here. Um, and then you have like your take profit, somewhere up here basically. That gives you a 3-to-1 whisper reward ratio to test the bottom of the order block up here at 67.5. So that is a potential as well. You could technically front run it right now. It would be very risky, especially given the day of the week it is currently. So for me, I personally need more information before I start diving into these bigger macro time frame trades. Um, so this is it's sketchy to me on the daily because now you kind of have a double bottom here. Um, you know, are we going to come down here and take out some of these other double bottoms that are nearby? Are we not? Are we just going to leave all of this open? Like this whole area, are we just going to leave alone, without taking out or getting down into the 60,000, 61,000 range again? At one point we are, right? But I don't know if it's time yet. Timing wise is very interesting to me. That being said, I'm not necessarily bullish or sorry, bearish yet for the week, mainly because for right now, we had bullish consolidation all day. I was waiting for the 1 hour to pull back. I was waiting for a 15-minute to pull back, and that never happened. We're just bullishly consolidating. So I definitely think that there's a potential that we are in an ultra bullish state right now, and there's a potential that we do move up here, at least test 65-ish area, 65,740 maybe 66,000, even up to the bottom of the order block before we get that rejection. Taking a look at your 10 hour, I mean, this is kind of getting rejected, but on the same token, this is a bullish engulfing candle right here. So there's a potential that right now we got the drop that we needed into this order block right here, and we almost hit the middle of it, but we made the drop into this order block. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we have to visit the bottom. We did find some support for a while at the top, but we just dove into it recently. But do we need to test the middle of it? Do we need to come all the way down or, to the 62,880? Like where is this going to lead us, right? So, I'm going to be watching this very closely to see kind of, what price action wants to do, especially like I said, guys, tight moving averages on the 10 hour and the 8 hour, and they're not going to make it obvious when we're going to get a massive move up, right? Once you close a single candle above this 200, there is a very good chance that, there's a potential that you're just going to fly, right? So just be well aware of that, especially because we have a bullish engulfing candle that closed just recently on the 10 hour and the 8 hour as our previous candle. So this is definitely a bullish, kind of move here. This is definitely showing some strength here. Um, definitely going against my whole time narrative. But again, like I said, August can still turn out to be bearish, even if it's bullish at the beginning of the month. We could be bullish all the way, getting up to 67.5, 69,317. It doesn't matter. But the problem is if we start out bullish, that means that there's a big chance for the remainder of the month that it's going to flip bearish. Okay, you just don't want to see the start of a month being bullish, especially the first week. So that, I mean, yes, you could definitely play some of these moves, take advantage, take your profits, but do not think that you can just, I would say not never financial advice, but I would not want to be longing right now and holding this for the month. I'm going to tell you that right now because there is a good chance that, we're not out of the woodwork yet when it comes to the bearish market. So there's a good chance that you're going to take out one of these double tops and it's going to find a lot of sensitivity on the resistance point and it's going to flip and then just drop into the 60,000-ish range down here. Okay. So be extremely, extremely careful with how you're playing this. That's, mainly what I want to stress today. Definitely could have a bullish week the rest of the week, but just be aware that the second and third weeks of August can get very ugly for price action. So I want you to be aware of that because timeline wise, this is not looking great for the bulls. It's looking good, as far as price action goes, but timing is giving me a lot of pause and a lot of things to be concerned about. The 4 hour. So the 4 hour, you got back above it. You're kind of testing the top of this order block now. You dove into it, like I said, almost testing the middle of it. You're going to expect for the 21 to start curving up. This is all going to align with, like I said, the 8 hour and the 10 hour are mainly controlling these other time frames. They're 6 hour and your 4 hour. So your 6 hour, you reclaim that 200 MA. That's great. Your 4 hour, you're working on it. Um, getting into the 2 hour and the 1 hour, it's staying above your 21. So there's a good chance that you're going to get basically a move up, slowly get some more consolidation, maybe make, more of a bull flag right here of some sort. Um, like this. I don't know. Let's see. Something like that, probably staying within this range. And then get that move up, right? And then you'll get the 50 to cross, the 21 to cross, and you'll get that golden cross on the 1 hour. You get that on the 8 hour, the 10 hour, and you're just going to fly. That's basically what can happen at this point. Um, Now that being said, I can see the bearish case where we can get down, test the bottom move. This order block right here, if you lose that, then there's more than likely this is going to break. Visit 62,109, or you get into 61,124 to 60,600 area like we've been targeting. Um, to the upside though, really it's you're gonna just keep on seeing all these levels that I keep repeating, right? 65,186 would be your first area, then 65,740, then 66,482, and then finally the bottom of this order block at 67.5. Let's take a look at the 15 minute. So the 15 minute, you're staying above your 200, which is amazing. You kind of had some sort of a Adam and Eve type of pattern, kind of a Bart Simpson-y type of thing. Got a small move to the downside, which makes sense. This market is always trying to fill order blocks and fill orders, so it makes sense that we kind of dove into this one right here. Um, I am expecting there to be a potential bounce as of right now, especially, you're dealing with Monday afternoon getting into Tuesday. So as long as we are going to remain in the bullish sentiment and this is not our high, there's a potential that we can keep that move going upward, right? So I'm definitely expecting, for right now, at least from a timing perspective, more of a bullish move. But just know that if we do continue the bullish move, um, you know, there's a possibility, a slight possibility that we might have a bearish week just for, Thursday and Friday potentially. Um, Let me be honest with you, if we get above the 8 hour and the 10 hour 200 and we get those golden crosses, guys, I mean, the timing thing is probably not going to matter as much. It's just going to take off to the upside. The only negative, like I said, is that you're doing it on the first week of August. So it is going to spell out trouble probably for the second and third weeks, if not the fourth week. Just be cognizant of that and don't think that you're going to catch the bottom of this monthly candle. And taking a look at the monthly, we should probably do that. Um, there is a possibility that this does flip bearish and we make some sort of swing low here. Okay, we could even come all the way down into the 59 range and still make a swing low. Because last month, right, our low was 57,770. So if as long as we don't break 57,770, that is still going to be considered a swing low right here. So we could get all the way down here at 58,613 and still have a swing low, right? And then that might set up some fun for September or definitely October. I'm expecting some fun, so we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens. But just be cognizant. Even when you could even come down, touch your 50 MA at 60,752 and get a nice strong bounce off of that. Kind of the middle of your order block right now, which is very interesting, around 60,622, right? So all levels to kind of keep in mind. Okay, we're dealing with the same levels, but we're talking about time in a different fashion because we started a new month, we're starting a new week. Just keep all of that in mind. That being said, let's go ahead and move into liquidity. So taking a look at liquidity. All right, let me drop into the 4-hour. So the 4-hour definitely looks like, again, you're leaning more into the downside, but you did take quite a bit of liquidity out, and now you got this little bridge up here. So, I mean, guys, there is a good chance we get up into 66,000 area, at least now, because with this bridge. So if we can flip the 64,685 and use it as support, now you're going to talk about 66,000. And then if you get through 66,000, you consolidate nicely. Then you can talk about 67, 200-ish area, and then possibly even getting up to 68,000. So when I talk about the 8-hour and the 10-hour getting that golden cross and me watching those closely, this is why. Because even without looking at liquidity, I'm like, that is a potential strong move. And we haven't seen that cross for about 3 months, like we said, right? So keep that in mind. No matter how bearish this looks or how much of a retracement you want, at the end of the day, price action is going to do what it wants to do. And if we get that golden cross, it's over. Then you're going to, be chasing, right? Um, so it's kind of hard to say. I mean, even like right now, we don't have to dive into liquidity anymore. This could be it. We literally are testing, basically 63,351, which is my support level here. We retested it. I mean, it could just consolidate from here and just fly up, right? Um, you have your 50x checked off here, and you can see how many bridges we have to the upside to just bring us straight up to 66,000. You have all of the liquidity there that you need to just go straight up. You could say the same for the bearish case. You have all the liquidity. You're starting to build a bridge here. You have it set up to go, basically bring price action down. So no matter what, this week can get very messy. Maybe it comes up first. Maybe we make a high tonight or tomorrow. We get into some of this, right? 65,000-ish area potentially. And then it just free falls the remainder of the week. That's also possible if we're going to have a bearish week. If we have a bearish week this week, like I said, there's a good chance that we have a bullish month. If we have a bullish week this week, there's a good chance we have a bearish month. This week matters a lot more than a lot of people put weight on it, okay? So just keep that in mind. 15 minute. So 15 minute, we took out this nice little block of liquidity right here. As far as your 100x goes, you do have the bridges to the upside, which is perfect. 50x does tell you that, again, and I posted this in the Sin City Crypto group. I posted it in my school community. If you lose 62.8, I'm going to flip bearish and be like, okay, well, there's a probability that we're going to start to really get down into here. Okay. This is my line in the sand. You lose 62.8, that's it. You're going to basically start to really drop off. Now, if you can keep this area, you keep 62.8, you can keep your move going up, right? 62.8 for right now is going to be crucial for the bulls to maintain, okay? All right, so 62.8 down here, and then obviously, coming up into the liquidity, you're going to be testing 65K, 65.7, 66,000, 67,500. All of that's on the table going to the upside, okay? That being said, guys, let's take a real quick look at our simple map. So taking a look at our simple map, let's see where we're at here. All right, so let's zoom in, see where we're at. All right, so to the downside, you're gonna find some support around 62,910. If you get past 62,910, you got to assume that you get to 62,200, and then 62,200. If you're able to fall through there, you're just gonna basically fall through at about 61,700. if you're able to keep this current level and use 60, that 63.3 as support, you can basically get that continuation at least to 64.110 it says. And if you're able to get past that resistance zone, you can get all the way up to about 64.7 area. And then if you're able to pass 64.7, you can just literally fall through to 65.4. So those are some levels that I'm seeing on the scalping timeframes, your smaller timeframes. Taking a look at the bigger timeframes here, usually repeats the same thing, and it does look like it is the exact same thing. So you have your liquidity down here. You have a decent amount of longs coming here down here at about 62,910. You fall through that support line, you get to about 62,200. And if you fall through there, then you get to about 61,740, and then it gets real ugly if you can't keep that. To the upside, you'd be looking at a resistance level around 64,100, somewhere around there. You're able to fall through there, then you'd get to about 64,650 to 64,700. And then if you're able to fall through there, you really don't have a spot until you get into the 65K range. So definitely have some really range-bound moves if you're able to keep your move up. Same with the move down. As of right now, from a timing perspective, I would assume that we can expect still somewhat of a move up. I don't expect for us to just immediately flip bearish, but there's a potential that we get up into some of these resistance levels, actually, not being able to get through them, right? Actually using them as resistance. And then we fall back into this area, into 61,700-ish territory, if not worse. Okay. That being said, let's go ahead and take a real quick look at open market. So with open market, what I'm seeing here is we do have a lot more orders to the upside, right? But the only thing is that sometimes these will be used as resistance. So 63.8, you're going to have to plow through in order to get your move up into some of these orders up here. But as you can see, guys, I mean, there are a ton of orders to lead you up. 65,375, even further to 66,400, and even further than that to 67,000. So we do have the ability and the orders now to move to the upside if it wants to. That being said, there's less orders to the downside. They are smaller, so there's a potential that we get that rollover to the downside and start taking this out, maybe using this as resistance, which is around 61.5. That is right below our 61.7-ish area that we're targeting on the simple maps, right? So, as of right now, I am assuming that we're going to still keep that climb up going. Whether or not it continues the rest of the week is a bigger question. But there's a potential that we get violence, guys. We're getting to that point where, like I said, on the 8-hour and the 10-hour, it's winding up. At any given moment, we can just start plowing up, right? And especially because Monday is now over, false move Monday is now over. So now we're looking forward to Tuesday, Wednesday, all potentially bullish days in the past if we have a bullish week, right? So keep that in mind as we go forward here. That being said, guys, that is what I have for you for now. You can use my code at tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean to get your 10% off discount. Tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean to get 10% off of your Trading Different subscription. It will give you access to all of the tools that you see me using. You get to take a look at liquidity, be able to identify bias easier, all sorts of stuff. So that being said, guys, that's all I have for you for now. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you all later.